Hello, Business 635 students. This is Professor Hassey. It's our week number 4 introduction video. Our topic this week is the cost of capital, which I think many of you are familiar with, but in the way we're going to look at it is a little bit differently. And also, the cost of capital is a very important concept in managing financial resources. What does it cost us to acquire the capital to produce our revenue and maximize value in the firm? So we're going to be talking about that in chapter 9 this week, and I have a brief video in just a few minutes to begin that discussion for my lecture tomorrow evening. We're also going to talk about and complete our financial statement analysis work. We're going to look at problem 3-13 at the end of chapter 3, do a little bit of analysis and just making sure we understand the key concepts of financial statement analysis. So let's take a look at this video introducing the cost of capital to our discussions this week number 4. This is a current up-to-date video on the coronavirus and its effect on corporate debt in the current corporate capital structure of many companies. So let's take a look at that video.
The coronavirus has affected equities and government bond yields, but do investors need to worry about underlying debt? That's been a question that's persisted these past couple of weeks, and Steve Leisman joins us now with perhaps the answer. Steve.
Thanks, Andrew. Top executives at all 3 major credit rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, and Fitch, tell CNBC they're closely analyzing the potential effects of the coronavirus on corporate, municipal, and sovereign debt. So far, there have been only a handful of rating actions directly related to the outbreak, but that is expected to change. Over at Moody's, they told me, definitely something that we're monitoring very closely. S&P said there will be more ratings actions, and the pace will quicken. Fitch says it hasn't downgraded any companies yet due to the virus. S&P has changed 27 credit ratings because of it. It placed Samsonite on Ratings Watch negative on Monday. It had earlier flagged Sabre and Wynn Resorts, and that kind of tells you the debt's attracting the most scrutiny. Some airlines with weaker balance sheets, other companies in travel and tourism, and countries that rely on those revenues, in other words, the sovereign debt that rely on those revenues to service the debt. Commodity companies also being watched carefully, along with countries relying on commodity revenues. The concern is not focused on investment grade. A lot of that has been refinanced, termed out at lower rates into the future. The main worry is speculative grade debt, and that should raise a red flag for investors going down the credit ladder who are hunting for yield. There will be credit risk in there. Fitch says as the virus spreads to other economies, including the U.S., a greater number of leveraged corporates may find their production disrupted and their revenues pressured. Rating agency executives said there is considerable liquidity in the system. Creditors remain willing to lend. You need that side if you're really going to have a credit crisis, so we don't have that. While some spreads for speculative debt have widened, rates have fallen, so that eased the burden on corporate cash flows. And some companies or countries could get relief from either government agency bailouts or the IMF or the World Bank if those programs are passed. But it's also true that the extent of the economic effects remain unknown. Craig Limoustein, head of analytics and research at S&P, told me it's all hands on deck. We need to be proactive. We can't wait until the economic effects are already obvious. And Andrew, you know what happened the last time we had a crisis, which is the rating agencies were widely criticized and behind the curve. I get the sense that they're sort of on their game on this one and really trying to stay ahead of it and avoid that criticism that they had in the financial crisis.
See downgrades constantly.
I think you'll see the first step is not downgrades; it's ratings watch negative.
Right.
And I think they'll flag that stuff. They're already. You can go, for example, on either the Fitch or the S&P website, and there's a lot of research there for people to kind of read and figure out. And it's difficult to gain, but the idea that more and more of this is happening more quickly, but you have lower rates. You also have this liquidity in the system.
Right.
And that liquidity, you need 2 sides to make this a crisis. You need the lenders not to lend and the borrowers be unable to borrow. We don't have that side on the left here, which is still have people out there looking for yield, but they should go in with eyes wide open. There's potential underlying credit issues.
Okay, as you can see, this is quite a big issue these days with companies who are leveraged with a lot of debt position. That lowers their risk, makes their cost of capital go up. One of the questions in our discussion post this week is to go into the most recent quarter of your financial statements of your particular company and find the corporate capital structure percentages. What percent of the company is in debt? What percent of the company is equity? That's going to help to determine your weighted average cost of capital per that discussion format that we'll discuss in class tomorrow evening. So good luck in finishing up your case study number 1. We'll talk about financial statement analysis and conclude that tomorrow evening and begin our capital budgeting couple weeks and spending time on capital budgeting and understanding what we do with capital once we fundraise it, where do we invest it, and how do we account for that in a financial analysis. So everybody have a good Sunday, and we'll look forward to seeing you all tomorrow evening. Adios. How do you like the cap? Kind of stupid, huh? My hair's a mess. All right, see you later.